In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create the different wall styles or the wall types for the affordable home. And what we're going to start off with is we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the wall tool. In your properties palette, we're going to go ahead and say edit type. The first type we're going to be taking a look at will be the exterior wall. So I'm going to click duplicate. We're going to call this, I usually abbreviate, Habitat for Humanity. We're going to call this exterior wall. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say edit, and under the structure we do need to change this to, or under the material within the structure layer. This will be softwood lumber. All the walls are going to be framed with 2x6 material or 5.5 inches thick. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say insert, and I'm going to move this layer down. I'm going to say insert, move this layer all the way up to the top, insert, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this one is going to go all the way up to the top. So you should see the different layers as they show here on the screen. This bottom structure layer is going to be finish 2. This one here, we're going to call this, we're going to find wallboard, gypsum wallboard, 2 words. And we're going to be set at 1/2 inch. For these two are still going to be, this is still going to be a structure layer for row 2. I'm going to choose the material. This one will be a plywood sheathing. And this is going to be set at a 7/16 thickness. The last one we're going to change up here at the top to finish 1. This one here, we're going to go ahead and set this thickness to be 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the material. Majority of our homes, we have plywood sheathing. For Habitat for Humanity homes, they do a lot of wood siding. So for finished material, because it's cheap, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the drop down and I'm going to go ahead and say duplicate selected material. With the name, I'm going to go ahead and call this House Exterior Siding. So in the Identity tab, that's the name. I'm going to take out the description and call this Wood Siding for Home. Still going to be in the wood category, and in the graphics tab I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose the pattern. What it looks like, it'll be horizontal layering. I'm going to check use the render appearance, so we'll be changing that in the next tab. And under render, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the asset library or the asset browser. In the appearance library, I'm going to click the drop down, choose siding, and from here I'm going to choose a different type of siding. So I want to choose a horizontal wood. Maybe I go through and say I want to do horizontal white. If I want to see what this preview looks like, there's what the image will look like. Looks pretty good. I'm going to close the asset browser. You could choose another horizontal wood siding there, and that would work as well. If I go to the graphics tab, you'll see here's what the render appearance will look like, the coloring. So it pulls from this material. I'm going to say OK. Then I have the house exterior siding there set up, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And say OK. Now we have our exterior wall set up. I'm going to continue on to, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit the type. While I'm in here, I'm going to duplicate. This one here I'm going to call the interior wall. I'm going to edit. I'm going to take out the plywood structure layer. I'm going to change the material to a gypsum wallboard, still at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this. These are 2x4 framed walls. Thickness of the softwood lumber should be 3.5 inches. And I'll go ahead and say OK. And I'll say OK. So now we have an interior wall created. We're going to do one more while we're at it. I'm going to say edit type. I'm going to duplicate this wall. This one here, we want to call this a plumbing wall. edit the structure. This is going to become the plumbing walls are going to be framed with 2x6. So I'm going to change this back to 5.5 inches. Still a 1/2 inch drywall on each side, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and say OK. So now we have 3 different wall types. So here when we go to start drawing, we can draw our exterior walls. We want to make sure that as we draw our exterior walls in, that our arrows are going to be to the outside to make sure that our structure layer, our exterior layer is going to be to the outside. If you need to change that, the level of detailing to fine, you should be able to see. And if you go through, make sure you have the thin lines selection checked. That way you're able to see those layers. So you'll be able to see all that there. Okay. In the next video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to draw your affordable house walls in and how to properly locate the walls. And that would be one of the first steps within the project, is to get all the walls in the right position for this particular house design you are creating.